House to Home, brought to you by RE/MAX Diamond Realty.
All right, everybody, I have the best job in the world because I get to hang out with these lovely ladies who know everything under the sun about real estate, Liz and Gina from RE/MAX Diamond Realty Guam. And ladies, you were talking the last time about the market as, in Gina's own words, being up, up, up. That is about as technically complicated and economic as we're ever going to get. But
so easy to understand.
Yeah, perfectly stated. But, but that being said, of course, from a consumer standpoint, there's always an optimal time to buy. And I know we've gotten some feedback already. People are saying, okay, so how long does the process take? And if I'm ready to buy or if I'm interested in buying, how should I start? And how long does the process last from basically going to the bank and filing the paperwork until I have keys in hand?
Liz, you want to start?
Well, the first thing you've got to do when you're looking to buy, because we get a lot of calls, and the people who call sometimes have no clue, where do we start, what do we need to do? And they would have to at least go to the bank, get pre-qualified. At least the bank will tell you what your budget is in terms of how much can your pre-qualified amount buy you. So once you've established that, just remember also when you go to the bank, you've got to have a good credit rating, because they will do a credit check for you to determine whether you're a good prospective buyer.
And again, just so people know, to put some context on this, what makes a good credit score? Taking out loans and paying them back on time.
Paying them on time.
Not having your funds garnished.
Exactly. If you don't pay your mortgages or your credit cards, or and it shows up in a credit report, each time it dings you, it brings your credit score down. Now, a 720 on up would be considered a good score.
How about things like child support? Does that have any bearing? Or?
If they recorded it, sometimes it does show on your credit report, because if it gets reported to the credit bureau, that does show up.
But bounce checks, definitely.
That would show, because if they do a credit check and they contact all the different credit agencies, and if any of those items were reported, guarantee will show up. And that kind of puts a halt on everything. So you can't move forward if your credit is bad. So those are very critical. Your budget for what you're buying, but again, you can't move forward. You can't keep making the steps forward if your credit isn't in order. So your credit is important, and then of course we as realtors will assist you in that process. And then we would go over the inventory of what's available. But and the other item that is very important is, when you go to the bank, they may say there's a particular loan type that's available. And sometimes they'll say it's a rural development loan, which is 100% guaranteed. It still means you have to come out of pocket with some monies. You can't just walk in and expect to buy something with no monies down, because there are appraisal fees. So you really have to save up to get ready, and Gina will elaborate further on the other steps, but you really have to have monies out of pocket.
Gina, give me a ballpark figure, like those additional funds that we need to cover those expenses and everything. Are we talking a couple grand, 20,000? What's a range?
And as Liz mentioned, it really depends on the type of loan that you're trying to secure from the from the banks. So there are loan programs that will give you 100% for the purchase price, and some of those loan programs will even incorporate some of your fees into the loan itself. So depending on what you qualify for. So yes, you know, because I always ask, what kind of loan are you planning on obtaining? And most consumers just say, well, of course I'm going to get a mortgage loan. But what they don't understand is mortgage products, there isn't just one type of product. So there's different programs. So when you go into the bank, they're going to look at your income, they're going to look at your family size, they're going to look at your status. Have you bought before or not? Are you in the military or not? And then they'll say, okay, we can offer you this program. Okay, so once you've established which loan program you're going to get, then the fees are anywhere from 4 to 6% of the amount you're going to borrow. So it's pretty easy. And sometimes what I find to be odd is, I've had consumers go to the bank and actually get pre-qualified. Then they'll call me and say, Gina, the bank says I qualify for 200 or 300,000, whatever the amount is. And I say, okay, now how much are you going to have to spend to get that loan? Because there is no such thing as absolutely free. So how much did they say you have to pay to get that loan? Oh, they didn't say we had to pay anything. Oh yeah, there's a cost. And so we'd end up calling the bank and asking the lender, what is their out of pocket? So with the VA loan and with rural development, which is RD loan, you know, if you're more familiar with that, you might be able to get into that loan program with as little as $3,000 out of your pocket, but you have to have that. Mm-hmm. You know, and the first step in buying real estate is you have to make an offer. And when you make the offer, you have to put what's called an earnest deposit, and that's out of your pocket. So so that's the first thing that I would recommend. If you already realize that you want, you know, you said, when's a good time? A good time is when you're ready. Everybody's ready at a different time, right? So if you've made the decision that this is a good time for you to buy real estate, the first thing you should do is start saving. Mm-hmm. And I tell my customers, listen, whatever you think you could pay per month, like if you've decided you're going to pay $1,200 a month, $2,000 a month, $1,500 a month, start putting that away. Every month, start putting that away until you find your home. Because if you could do that comfortably, perhaps you are ready. Is there like a worksheet that you can pass on to people just so they can have like an idea?
Yes, yes. And what we do is, if let's say a person's paying $800 or $1,200 a month, we can go into our mortgage calculator and indicate, well, what does that buy you? So if you're paying $1,200 a month, does that mean you can qualify probably for $195,000 or $200,000? So we do have a formula that we work with to assist them in that process.
All right, and of course they can contact you at RE/MAX Diamond Realty One anytime.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's detailed, so they're better off contacting us, and we could sit with each individual and go over the info.
All right, ladies, thank you.
Thank you.
Trust me, everybody, it sounds like it's a very stressful time, and it can be. They take a lot